Hello again. I'm Randy Bueller here with Brian David Marshall, doing a little pregame before the Pro Tour Yokohama Championship match. $40,000 on the line, 25 pro points, which is a huge number and turns into money event in, event out next year.
Sure. Both of these players jump right into the middle of the Player of the Year race.
Absolutely. Guillaume Wafatapa has been defining metagames for years. Kazuya Mitamura, not quite as well known, but sitting in a second consecutive block constructed top 8 for that matter. Who do you like?
I'm going to go with Guillaume Wafatapa.
All right. You're going against the Pickles player.
I'm going against the Pickles player. I'm trying to mix it up. My picks haven't been working out for me so far.
Double reverse psych out because you really want Pickles to win the Pro Tour?
No.
No. I cannot believe you and not call you on it. That's fine. So now, tell us about the origin of this Pickles deck. Now I know that you gave it the name Pickles. What was the story behind this combo? Who was it that first found it?
Well, apparently there were a couple of people who played versions of this in state championships.
Okay.
After having a draft, I built a version of this deck that I wrote about in my MagicTheGathering.com column.
Right.
That Mike Flores and I worked on together. I built the base deck. He ended up putting in storage lands and Giga Drowses, and the original version was a lot clumsier than what you're seeing right now.
Sure.
But the essential nugget of Vesuvian Shapeshifter, Brine Elemental, that combo sort of we identified as Pickles, and we've been really excited about it for a while. The deck has taken off. A lot of the California players.
Now, did you find the combo reading state championship deck list?
No.
I discovered it in a draft deck.
I found it in a draft deck. It just happened for me. I had Fathom Sea, Brine Elemental, and
that'll work.
Vesuvian Shapeshifter. And so I passed a Disintegrate the other day for a Vesuvian Shapeshifter in a draft. I love that card. I think it's pretty much the best card in the block.
Okay.
So the deck has really taken off. I mean, a lot of people have adopted it. It's obviously because it's such a powerful synergy. The Japanese players inserted it. They replaced the Triskelevises and Trisketron from World Championships. Actually, if you look, those guys they replaced that with a very small Pickles engine that they can tutor up with Mystical Teachings, with Teferi in play.
Well, no Mystical Teachings over here.
No, not in this version. I was just talking about it one of the Japanese events. Minamura decided not to go with Fathom Seers. He's running black for Damnation.
Right, and he said a couple Strangling Soots in the main.
And Strangling Soot, obviously a concession to the White Weenie decks.
Sure.
And decided, you know what, I'm gonna run Shadow Mage Infiltrator. I don't want to be reliant on 2 cards to get my card going.
Do we know who he tested with for this event?
He did test with Ryuichi Arita. He worked with Arita.
And that was his teammate at Pro Tour Charleston.
Yeah. He named a couple of other players in his little bio if you check out the top 8 profiles on the MagicTheGathering.com Tournament Center. But Ryuichi Arita was definitely cited as one of the players he worked with on this deck.
Makes sense. So Arita and Minamura teamed up to make top 4 Charleston in the Ravnica block constructed. Here they came up with their take on Black-Blue, which is not the same as the other Japanese players were running, right?
No, it's not. The other Japanese players were running a Mori design deck,
right?
Which was, much more in line with the deck Wafatapa's playing.
Right.
Mystical Teachings based deck that had a discrete package, package of like sort of one of Silver Bullet answers, and was kind of you have a little answer for everything, and then after the sideboard you screw in your control socket or your beatdown socket, and you adjust the deck. You sort of fine tune it. Mm-hmm. For the remaining games, and that's what Wafatapa's playing.
Yeah, Wafatapa very much has the Mystical Teachings fueled package of Silver Bullets. He worked with Pierre Canale for this event, worked with Jonathan Rispal, sort of a group of French players. Maybe not the ones you've been hearing about for years, right? You've had between the Ruel brothers and Nassif. France has been front and center on the Pro Tour for quite some time, but that. Canale, Wafatapo, that group has clearly started to put up some serious results.
Sure, and if you remember the Eggs deck from Worlds, that was Jonathan Rispal was involved with that. I mean, a lot of these guys had a hand in the Project X decks. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, clearly some people who are really looking for some, really exploiting some powerful cards and putting together some powerful synergies and building some format-defining decks, all living and playing and working in the same area in France, so...
One swamp in this deck. I keep looking at that. It just seems crazy. There's only one swamp in the entire deck.
And he ran the full set of 4 Urborgs.
Right.
He's going to get his Urborg.
He's got that instead of swamps, right?
And he certainly would have loved. He would have loved to have played Tomohiro Saito. You know, this deck is just annihilates the aggressive decks, the creature-based decks that really their goal is to do 20. You know, it's that philosophy of fire kind of idea. You know, we can get there. You know, I have just all my cards do this sort of amount of damage, and I'm going to get to 20, and you're going to be dead. And even if I have to fight through some of your counter spells, no, you're at. You know, my creature died, and now you're at 35.
And we were talking in the semifinals. Mark Herberholtz had a very similar matchup to this. Heezy's deck, which he was working with Gabriel Nassif, among others, they had wound up with a white package in the main deck that gave them access to more silver bullets. Wafo Tapu does have access to a Plains and a Disenchant and a Temporal Isolation, a couple pulls from Eternity, but that's all on the sideboard. He's actually only 2 colors in the main. Seems like that would give him a little more consistency than a deck like a Mark Herberholtz version of it.
I mean, Mark maybe a little more consistent, but Mark's deck definitely seemed to have a little more power. I was kind of surprised. And
looks like the players are shuffled up. Looks like they're ready for the finals. So we will be back momentarily with the championship match of Pro Tour Yokohama. What is on top of the deck? Hello and welcome to the Pro Tour Yokohama Championship match. I'm Randy Buehler. I'm here with Brian David Marshall, and this has been an amazing event. The Time Spiral Planar Chaos block constructed format has given us all kinds of diversity, a bunch of different decks, a bunch of different variants on the same archetypes, a bunch of great players, clearly a very skill-testing format. It's familiar names through to the finals. The 2 guys that have survived to battle for the $40,000 prize, Guillaume Wafo-Tapa, there you get a good look at the Frenchman. He's been warping metagames for years with his ability to build constructed decks. And Kazuya Mitamura, defending the home country. Mitamura in his second top 8, his second consecutive block constructed top 8. Both players have their take on the blue-black control deck. What do you think of this matchup, Brian?
I think that I think both players are going to have Minamura's going to have some dead damnations in game 1.
Okay.
Where Guillaume Wafo-Tapa will actually be able to put his damnations to some use. The Minamura deck is a lot more creature-based.
Yeah, he's got 4 Shadow Mage Infiltrators. He's got the full Pickles package with 4 Shapeshifters and a couple of Brine Elementals. Both players have 2 Teferis and 2 Draining Wells.
But Guillaume Wafo-Tapa has to be very, very careful. His deck loves to tap out at the end of his opponent's turn. He likes wants to make Urza's Factory tokens, wants to flashback Mystical Teachings, wants to do a lot of things that he has to be very careful about that window where Brine Elemental just shuts the game off.
Yeah, it's Wafo-Tapa and his Mystical Teachings package against Minamura and the Pickles combo. Which one of these will be victorious? Wafo-Tapa plays out a Prismatic Lens.
Maybe I don't need a swamp.
Mitamura uses an expand to go get a swamp.
It's funny watching the opening as lights are flashing and it's all exciting and the music's playing
and John Finkel's in the house, Shadow Mage Infiltrator for Mitamura.
And Guillaume Wafo-Tapa is just sitting there very, very quietly, very calmly. The lights are sort of flashing all over him. He seemed very, very, at peace in the middle of all this kind of chaos, excitement, thunder.
Just a very calm guy. Seems like a really good guy.
Yeah, he seems like a great guy. I really enjoyed talking to him. I've interviewed him for my column once or twice.
Okay.
And he's, really helpful, great answers. Could be interviewing him again for my column.
And there's Damnation. That'll take care of John Finkel. Shadow Mage Infiltrator into the bin. Careful consideration from Mitamura.
Yeah, despite the different approaches these players have taken to the blue-black deck, you can certainly identify the cards that are these just flagship cards of the archetype. You know, Careful Consideration,
Sure.
Damnation.
Absolutely.
Pretty much Careful Consideration, Damnation.
Yeah, they don't. Other than the mana, how many other spells actually cross over? The couple Draining Welks. Cancel. Cancel's a big one. Think Twice is only in Wafatapa's deck. They both have a snapback. Midamura actually has 2.
Be curious to see if people would still play with the snapbacks coming into the same tournament tomorrow, knowing what they know now. Snapbacks are definitely there.
It's there for Griffin Guide.
It's there
right?
for Griffin Guide. But we saw Midamura
single-handedly won a semifinal match on the strength of a snapback.
Absolutely. He
came out of nowhere. Saito
had set him up for the Tindermare and
moved all in. Nope, snap it back.
But these guys have been making use of a number of cards that Guillaume Wafatapa won his match against Mark Herberholtz, certainly on the back of Triskelevis and Academy Ruins. Cards he said before the top 8, these are the cards I would change in my deck. They're the ones I don't like. I would rather have another Urza's Factory. Guillaume is now Careful Consideration himself.
Keep reading the forums. People are like, who are these guys? They're like, it's Guillaume Wafatapa. He made Dralnu. He made the Wafatapa deck. You know this guy.
It's not a coincidence that Guillaume Wafatapa is playing in the finals of a Pro Tour, and you played a deck last year called Wafatapa Control.
Not a coincidence. I like your line earlier that a lot of people call multicolor decks by the Ravnica guilds, but nobody calls it Dimir.
Yeah, they don't. They don't.
It's called Dralnu.
It's just Dralnu. They call this deck Dralnu.
Dralnu.
I don't believe there's a Dralnu here.
No.
Although there were Dralnus in the Japanese decks.
I saw a couple of Dralnus.
You watched a great match with Kenji and Shada Yasaoka.
Yeah, that was awesome. Yasaoka actually had Dralnu and Teferi in play for like 10 turns, and Kenji beat him anyway.
Kenji holy pacooled him.
Yeah, decked him. And there's the Damnation. Trades it for Vesuvian Shapeshifter.
Damnation, Strangling Set, same thing.
It's interesting that Wafatapo apparently wants to kill each individual morph as it comes out. I mean, is that the game plan? Is that the way you fight the Pickles deck?
He doesn't want to really.
If he lets him get 2, he's in trouble, right?
Yeah, if he lets him set up and he waits to kill 2 at once, I mean, there's always a possibility that something very bad will happen.
Yeah. I mean, it's unusual that you see a Damnation used like that. Just one guy, just one face-down morph creature, and Guillaume didn't hesitate.
I can certainly understand it on the Shadow Mage Infiltrator, which represents far more than one card.
I didn't comment on the Shadow Mage Infiltrator.
Yeah.
That one made perfect sense to me, but one face-down morph, I was a little startled by how quickly Guillaume just threw the Damnation at it. I mean, can he afford to kill every one of those one by one? Like, there's 10 threat creatures then, right? You get the 4 Finkles and the 6 morphs.
Well, he does have 2 more sudden death, 2 sudden death, 2 tendrils. He can
4 Damnations.
And 4 Damnations. That's 8. That's the base of the deck. And once he gets his instant speed, and
he can fight him with permission. Here's Cancel versus a morph, but Midamura defends it, so manages to get another morph into play.
Right. Once he gets his Mystical Teachings engine going, then he's able to
use his 8 removal spells to keep up with 10 threats. Yeah. How does the permission suite line up? It's 4 cancels and 2...
4 cancels, 2 Draining Welks.
Is that exactly even those
4
same 6?
Midamura. And...
Oh, there's no Welks in Midamura's deck. Yeah, there are. It's 4 and 2.
Yeah, it's 4 and 2 in both.
So exactly 6, and neither one of them sideboards more permission?
Except Wafatapa has far more permission in the sense that he has the Mystical Teachings.
Midamura has the Willbender thing going on. He's got a couple Willbenders. He's got a Dismal Failure in the sideboard. So Midamura can have him 9-6 if you're willing to count Willbender, which I think you do.
Sure, absolutely.
No Willbenders in the main for Midamura. All right. Well, here's Mystical Teachings for Tendrils. Like you were saying, Guillaume can keep up with those creatures, can kill all of them because he's got that Mystical Teachings engine. And there's Tendrils on another morph.
Then you can flashback that Mystical Teachings for another Mystical Teachings.
Oh, by the way, Wafo up to 26. This matchup, not really about life totals.
Yeah, no, it's not about life totals at all. If Mitamura wins, he'll probably be able to kill him from 100 if he needed to.
Right. Another morph from Mitamura. Wafo had tapped out to kill the last one. Does he have another answer? He's got the Teachings in the graveyard, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Can't. No, probably can.
It gets a little scary to flashback the Mystical Teachings now.
Well, if he can flashback Teachings and get a sudden death.
You can still unmorph in response to sudden death.
That's true, but there's not enough mana, right?
No.
Only 4 mana on Mitamura's side. Oh, he decides to go for Haunting him. Clears out Mitamura's hand, which was pretty much out of gas. That was the last morph. But yeah, this is a little scary. Wafo is down to 2. Ooh, Finkel off the top. Jack.
Put damage on the stack.
Oh, and turn it into a Finkel.
Do 2 and draw a card.
Nice. Now it's where Guillaume wants a Damnation. And what he's got is a Triskelivis, which can block Finkel, but there's 2 Finkels.
It can block 2 Finkels.
Yeah, it's true. Mitamura lets the Shapeshifter flip back now.
If he could play a face-up Brine Elemental here.
Yeah. Teferi in Mitamura's hand. So Wafo has got a couple Prismatic Lenses and a fully loaded Triskelivis. He's also got 7 lands.
And an untapped step.
And an untapped step. Yeah, that's big. Mitamura ships the turn. Mitamura has got 7 lands of his own. He's got a face-down Vesuvian Shapeshifter and a Shadow Mage Infiltrator. Wafo-Tapa's got an Aeon Chronicler and an Urborg.
She's going to go ahead and suspend that guy.
Suspends it for 3. That makes sense. He's living in fear right now, though. Oh, there's Teferi. Just going to turn off the Chronicler, resolving anyway. Wafo will get 3 cards out of it.
I think he's fine with the Ancestral.
It's a little nervous, though. It'll take 3 turns, and he had to tap down relatively low to do it. I mean, Wafo was killing each creature as it came out, and he fell behind. Couldn't keep up. Mitamura's up to 3 creatures in play now.
Right. And if Guillaume's going to feel pretty happy about every opportunity to untap.
He really does. Now, did he kill a Brine Elemental? He killed one morph, and we never did see what it was. Oh, Damnation from Guillaume. And a snapback. So he's killed 1 Brine Elemental and 1 Shapeshifter in those early flurries.
He does have a Mystical Teachings in his yard, so he can actually
There's Damnation.
Extirpate the... He can actually extirpate Flashback Mystical Teachings and extirpate the Brine Elementals and just get that plan off the table.
Wow. And Damnation resolves. So yeah, that suspended Aeon Chronicler helped Wafatapa draw into the Damnation. Now he's got rid of the Teferi.
Did he not fly over for 3 there? Or 4 there?
No, he just cast the Damnation cold. Didn't want to risk anything. Because he doesn't know what Minamura's got in his hand. He's got no ability to defend the Damnation. Certainly didn't want to risk getting hit by Finkel again. Well, there's a Phyrexian totem for Minamura. Always a little bit risky against the deck with Urborg and Tendrils, but potentially hits pretty hard.
Potentially it obliterates you.
What are you gonna do? He's out of gas.
It's funny, I can hear the director talking in our ear, and he keeps talking about, like, I guess different camera angles, and he keeps saying things like, take 4, take 5. You know, and I just think people are taking damage.
No damage. No damage anywhere in sight.
And here comes Mystical Teachings.
It's got to be huge to get extirpate foreign elementals, right?
Or Vesuvian Shapeshifters, or he's going to go get Teferi.
This is where the skill in these decks really kicks in. What do you get with Mystical Teachings? How do you want to play the game?
Right, what's the clock like? How much time do I have?
Apparently Wafatapa believes it is time to actually win the game. Drop a creature down, turn off permission. Which Fairy does a bunch of stuff. I guess he feels like that grip full of cards means doesn't need help stopping Brian Elemental Shapeshifter from coming together. Six. Minamura to 14 does not have long. If he's 2 hits away, right? 7 and 7.
Yep. There's a morph.
Always a little scary.
Kind of surprised no spell bursts in the sideboards. I guess no one was really expecting. No one was expecting much in the way of the morph decks, but the spell burst is just phenomenal against it.
Kenji had Spellburst.
Of course he did.
The Tendrils?
That's a snapback.
Oh, Snapback.
Let's see what that is before we tendrils it.
Rhino.
Yep.
On which he flips. So, no untap for Wafatapa.
Wait, it's Jim.
What's he thinking about? Now that he knows what it is, he wants to tendrils it?
Yep.
Why wouldn't you just tendrils it then?
Fate.
Because Minamura tapped all his mana, I guess. He knows the tendrils is going to resolve.
I guess so.
Minamura's going to land in a lens.
Get in for 5.
Get in for 5.
Hope.
It knocks Wafatapa all the way down to 27. Wafatapa charges up some more lands, but it's basically 2 hits away from winning this game. 5 damage there. Might take 3 hits since he played no spells. He can throw out to Fairy. No. 2 more turns. Niedermeyer gets in there with Negator Totem again.
Almost has him to 20.
Close. 23. 22.
Does it get canceled? What else is he going to do there? Mystical Teachings for Guillaume Wafatapa. For some reason with that glare, Mystical Teachings looks like Penumbra Spider to me. Teachings for Teachings. Chug a chug.
Yeah, just an insurance policy against something going wrong. Seems like Wafatapa is going to win this.
Oh,
with
he also goes up a card for the Chronicler because he flashed back the Teachings, right?
Sure. 6. Niedermeyer down to 3. There's teachings for counterspell of some sort.
Extirpate your damnations.
Just to make sure. Yeah, counterspell.
Yep.
Seems safer. And Niedermeyer scoops him up. So Guillaume Wafatapa has taken game 1. He now leads this best 3 out of 5 matchup, 1-0. So that went, you picked Wafatapa, right?
Yes, I did.
I know Heezy seemed a little nervous about playing against the Pickles deck. Guillaume seemed a little nervous too.
Yeah, they were hoping for Saito. And Saito also thought that
that he did not like his chances in the finals.
Yeah.
Seriaton 42 has shown back up again.
Okay.
This is the guy who won that Magic Online Premier event with White Weenie that wound up changing everything. He says if he had a deck, had a tournament to play tomorrow, red-green with Lotus Bloom and a Chroma.
So basically, Paulo Caravallo's deck.
Yeah, basically. In fact, he sounds like he thinks that Carvalho could have beaten Wafatapa in the quarters if he played his cards a little differently.
Really?
I mean, it was the game 5 that we watched. It was like, do you acid moth? Do you try to play a threat?
That was definitely the question.
Blue Foundian is telling you there's no extirpate in Wafatapa's main deck. It makes it hard to bust up the Pickles combo first game.
Yeah.
Probably does come in, though, I would think. So what do you think the lasting memories of this Pro Tour will be?
Killing someone with poison.
You did this in a side draft?
I've actually done it 4 times now.
Really?
Yes.
You're just forcing slivers and playing the poison sliver because
Yes.
it makes for good stories?
I just like slivers. It's a lot of fun. Actually, homing sliver, I think it's homing sliver. It's the red sliver in the 3rd set. Is just absurd. It's sliver cycling.
Yep.
It has sliver cycling, and when it's in play, all your slivers in hand have sliver cycling.
Okay, sliver cycling is tap a sliver to cycle.
What it lets you do on turn 3 is just at the end of turn 3, sliver cycle for your Watcher sliver, your telekinetic sliver, your dormant sliver.
Wow.
It's very exciting. Your poison sliver.
A poison sliver, okay.
Yeah. Shadow sliver. So you can get all your poison slivers through. Oh, yeah. That's going to be my lasting memory. Actually, I'm going to really remember the sort of presence of White Weenie by its absence.
Sure. Yeah, it's one of the more stark sort of metagame dances I've seen.
Yeah, I'm definitely definitely Karsten with the bucket.
Karsten with
I
the
mean,
bucket,
just like,
sure.
but just it sounds like it's a funny image, but it's just also this
Determination.
the idea of the determination of this really great player who's like he understands how important these events are.
It's only
in
5
terms
a
of-
year.
In terms of the overall scheme, and he fought through, and he played great. He played great Magic.
Yeah.
And certainly just this top 8 in general. Just the idea that 3-point, something top 8s per person in the top 8. It's 23 career top 8s in this top 8.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely going to remember Oiso. I mean, it's like years from now when we're voting him into the Hall of Fame or whatever. It was like he had that dominant run, but then, a couple years later, Coach Tour came back to Japan. He was able to get here, and he's like, hi, I'm still awesome.
He for a long time, he was the only player from his class eligible for the Hall of Fame. And,
Right.
At once to 10 years right here, he had the minimum 100 points faster than anyone else from his year.
Right.
He's obviously a first ballot Hall of Famer when that rolls around, right?
I think so.
We asked him or Kenji.
Yeah, that was funny. Kenji, who was Masashi Oisa's protege. I mean, Oiso really took Kenji under his wing and taught him how to play. Took him around at events for a while. And, Oiso, after qualifying for top 8, was asked, who's better, you or Kenji? He thought for a minute, and he kind of cocked his head to the side, and he said, now is Kenji. It's like, all right, well, that was the easy answer. Okay, all time. You at your best, Kenji at his best. Who's better? And he thought for a good long while, and he said, made a motion with 2 hands right next to each other. Said the same, even.
Funny story about Oiso. His first top 8 came in this hall, in this convention center.
Oiso did, yeah.
In 2003, and he made the finals. His best finish in a top 8. Has actually not gotten out of the quarterfinals in any of his.
Yeah, he's
subsequent...
actually 2-6 lifetime.
Yeah, has not gotten out of the quarterfinals in his subsequent 5 trips to the top 8.
Right.
So he thought back. He's like, well, what's different? He's like, I know. When I made the finals of that first Pro Tour, I stayed up and drafted all night. So he apparently stayed up all night drafting Future Sight before the top 8 today. Caught a couple hours of sleep at about 6:30.
Wow. That's an awesome plan. I wish that had worked.
Me too. Story's much more anticlimactic now than it was going to be when he won this Pro Tour. All right, we're underway here. The mandatory first turn terramorphic expanse.
Peter Murray sacks it to go get a swamp.
Smells like Shadow Mage Infiltrator.
Get a good look at Waff atop his hand. Full of ways to kill creatures. No permission. Tendrils, sudden death, damnation.
2 Urborgs, it looks like.
Oh, is that right?
No, is that last one a swamp?
The foils are throwing me off. Mitamura, a handful of blue cards, careful consideration. A Brine Elemental. Looks like he's going to go ahead and fix his hand with careful consideration.
Have you seen anybody cast that as an instant end of turn?
No? I can't even remember it happening in a draft match. Too strong. Did you say too strong?
Too strong. He's looking at all the cards in his hand, having a hard time discarding. He's considering discarding a cancel.
Wow.
He's going to do it. He's going to discard cancel.
And what was the other card? Cancel and a shapeshifter.
Yeah.
Wow.
If he's trying to scare Wafatapa, that's a good way to do it.
Did need to keep some land. I mean, it's his kind of control on control. Guillaume plays into our board.
And there's Teferi, end of turn.
Yep. Gets to untap. Only 1 blue mana for Guillaume. Teferi gets in there for 3.
Now, flash out Brine Elemental for 6 at the end of the turn.
Yeah, I mean, Guillaume's got a bunch of ways to kill Teferi main phase. Goes for sudden death, which cannot be responded to with Brine Elemental. That was his plan. It didn't work out.
I think he was hoping for a damnation there.
Here's Shadow Mage Infiltrator. Yeah, it really is. Handful of creatures on one side, handful of kill spells on the other. Interesting. Mitamura goes for a morph there. Why would you open up a 2-for-1 with Damnation?
I mean, and Wafatapa's demonstrated a willingness to trade 1-for-1 on the...
Yeah, I don't like that play. There's the Damnation, and Mitamura gets himself 2-for-1 when either one of those individually, I think, would have been threatening enough to potentially bait that Damnation out.
He's discarded 2 shapeshifters now.
Bizarre. Here's another morph, and here's another Finkel. There is no second Damnation.
Yes, there is.
Oh, there is. Wow. Brine Elemental and Shapeshifter down. Mitamura has just walked into a pair of Damnations from Guillaume Wafatapa. I mean, he's not out of gas, but I feel like he could have played this game slower. Like, what's the hurry?
That's going to get tendrils.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the hurry was.
Yes, especially after Wafatapa.
Last
Damnation.
game, we talked about it. Just Finkel drew out a Damnation. Just face-down Morph Creature drew out a Damnation. I mean, I think Wafatapa... I think Mitamura could have just played those creatures out one at a time. He'd just be up 2 guys.
And Wafatapa's seen enough cards that he feels comfortable taking a risk on tapping out for...
Oh, 2 morphs. A little scary. Extirpate, Teferi, Tendrils.
Careful consideration.
Or is that thing twice? There's Tendrils on the face down. What do you get? Was it a Brine Elemental?
Looks like it was a Willbender. I only caught a glimpse of it.
What do you want? Okay. Go. Which one's the creature that just died?
Willbender, okay. Brine Elemental gets flipped.
Mitamura must know something we don't.
What do you mean?
Well, you know, does he have any cards in hand? Does he have a shapeshifter?
One card in hand. Could draw a Shapeshifter, right? I don't know. Oh, there's the Extirpate.
Oh.
Middle of the attack phase.
He's going to extirpate the shapeshifters, even if it's in his hand, it doesn't matter.
Right, right.
And it's not.
All right. There will be no Pickles combo. There's no way for Mitamura to get anything back from out of the game, right?
Yeah, Mitamura tried to be helpful there and take him out. And I was like, you know what? I want to look at you.
Yeah, I kind of want to look through your deck.
I want to see what your sideboard plan is. Now, did you say that Wafotapa brought in Pull from Eternities?
That's what I heard Rajagon say.
And tried to figure out what those are getting back, unless he's just using them for
Mystical teachings.
extra mystical teachings.
I think he might be.
Right?
Which seems fine.
He just pulls his mystical teachings.
Sure.
And flashes back another mystical teachings. I can't see anything in the sideboard of Mitamura's deck that he would want that for. Sideboard or deck. That's great. I've been kind of hoping I'd see that happen all week.
Sure.
I know, 21. 21. Sure.
Wafatapa's Eon Chronicler has come down. He's got a handful of answers. Cancel. Well, you can see it. He's got the cancel on the Draining Well. And he leaves the Eon Chronicler back to watch the gates on the Brine Elemental. Get a look at the beautiful panels that they produced. All different shots of Yokohama done in monochrome. Little Black Lotus in the corner. And they have a little Guillaume Wafotapa superimposed over that. Mitamura is just sending in the Phyrexian totem. No fear. Wafotapa is considering whether he wants to block the Brine Elemental or block the Phyrexian totem. Blocks the Phyrexian totem, he also gets five permanents. He decides, yep, there it goes. He puts it in front of the Phyrexian totem. Guillaume's ready to go to damage. He's gonna cast Mystical Teachings.
Yeah. Mitamura had seen enough.
Yeah, with all the shapeshifters gone.
Pretty much forced to try to win with Phyrexian Negator, but rather than sacrifice all of his permanents for the tendrils that Wafotapa was probably going to get, Mitamura scoops him up, and Guillaume Wafotapa leads 2-0. Wow, this is shaping up to be almost a blowout.
Well, when it comes down to it, though, Mitamura's deck is full of creatures.
Yes?
And Wafotapa's deck is really good at dispatching them.
It's true.
Especially if Mitamura trots them out there 2 at a time.
Yeah, I totally agree.
You know, that game might play out completely differently if he just
Baits them one at a time.
baits them one at a time with the Shadow Mage Infiltrators.
It's funny, I used to remember busting out the Pro Tour 1 decks right? The very first Pro Tour there ever was, there was a series, the top 8 decks were built, and, there were these Armageddon decks, would have, Wrath of Gods and Armageddons and things like that, and then the couple of Necro decks had the Pump Knights in them, and you could really tell who knew how to play the Necro deck and who didn't, because when you got that matchup of the Necro versus the Armageddon decks with all loaded with Wrath of Gods, like, I remember playing against John Finkel, actually. We're sort of, goofing around, play testing, decided to stop testing for the tournament and just bust out the PT1 decks, and, he'd never play more than a Pump Knight. He would just play a Pump Knight, and he'd just spend all of his mana pumping up the Knight and attacking, because it was so important in those decks that it's like, okay, they can kill your creatures. They've got these plows, they've got these wraths. You just got to make sure that you force them to kill only 8 creatures with their 8 removal spells.
Yeah, John.
The lesson has stuck with me ever since.
Where were you as a player when Pro Tour 1 rolled around? What were you?
Pro Tour 1 rolled around?
Yeah,
I didn't know it existed. Like, I was...
had you played the game?
Yeah, I'm trying to think in retrospect. I had been playing the game with my college roommate for a semester and had not yet discovered tournaments. I discovered tournaments, like, right around that time. Like, I heard about a Pro Tour 2 PTQ. I noticed a sign at, like, the local card shop, and I'm like, what's this? I didn't go. I didn't know what it was. I was just all confused. What is this Pro Tour thing?
Right.
But then I played qualifiers. I sort of discovered tournaments that semester.
I was probably running that tournament.
in Minneapolis?
Oh, not in Minneapolis.
Yeah, I was in Minnesota at that
time.
time.
You were in CMU.
No, I moved that summer. The first year I played Magic, I was a grad student in Minnesota. I got my master's degree. My wife was a grad student in Pittsburgh, so I was like, this sucks. She wasn't my wife at the time. She was my college girlfriend at the time, so decided, yeah, all right, I need to transfer to Pittsburgh. Marry this woman. And then discovered the guys at CMU. First tournament I played was this random 2-headed giant tournament, actually. And I remember I was playing with my wife, Dell, and I met Eric Lauer, who was playing with, a guy named Pete from CMU. And, Eric struck me as somebody who really knew how to play. And so I made arrangements to head over to campus and test with him. And I wound up driving into a PTQ, and the rest is history.
Which is in turn paid off very, very well for you.
That worked out. Yeah, Eric Lauer, very much the guy who taught me how to play Magic well. Like, not the guy who taught me how to play Magic, but the guy who taught me how to play Magic well.
Again, we talked about the value of networking earlier. I mean, it's kind of a...
Oh, yeah. No, the way to get good at Magic is to find people that are better than you and then try to figure out why they're beating you.
Right. Not call them lucky.
So Guillaume Wafatapo up 2-0. Best 3 out of 5 matchup. He's got a couple losses to give here. Doesn't want to give them away, but
sure.
Just needs to win one of these next 3, and he will be Pro Tour champion, Guillaume Wafatapo. He thought he was influential in the metagame before. Wait until his deck list has PT Winner attached to it.
What do you think's going to happen in the PTQ season? Like, just ignoring Future Sight for a second.
Ignoring Future Sight?
Doesn't it seem to you that it's going to be a ton of white weenie in the PTQs? Like, remember,
there will be more white weenie than there was here at the Pro Tour, which means the good players will run these control decks or will run the red decks and do pretty well. I mean, I think it'll look very much like this Pro Tour, actually. You'll have...
Dismal Failure.
Oh.
On the careful consideration. Yep, get rid of that extra Urborg.
Still pretty good for Minamura.
Sure.
Yeah, I think you'll see a decent dose of aggro. I think the aggro builds will get better. I mean, one of the things that happens whenever you add cards to a format is that, all the decks get a little faster and a little tighter, and often that can help the aggro decks.
Right, and also
Shadow Mage Infiltrator from Minamura.
The level of play you see with the control decks is not always replicated at the low levels of play.
It's fair.
I mean, there's a lot of really tough decisions. Although I think the red-green decks will probably satisfy the need to get into the red zone and attack and burn things and...
Tendrils kill Shadow Mage Infiltrator.
Blow up lands. All the things people love doing.
Yeah, those red-green decks look like a lot of fun. I think you will see a lot of those, too. Maybe even more than the white weenie.
Yeah. Interesting card we had been talking about for the red-green deck was Etherweb.
Okay.
It's a sideboard card that lets you, your Wall of Roots can suddenly block Soltari Priest and kill it.
Sure.
Can block a Griffin-guided creature.
Here comes the first face-down creature from Minamura.
Okay, and here comes the first Wrath from Wafatapo. What do we think? He's a little tight on his
Well, he got his careful consideration countered, and he's not been able to develop his mana basis effectively. Yep, there's Damnation. One face-down creature is good enough. Now it's time for face-down creature and a Finkel.
I mean, and the thing about playing one creature out is if he can play one creature out, have Wafatapa try to Wrath, and then he can defend it with a counterspell.
Right.
Then he gets to untap and unmorph, potentially unmorph a Brine Elemental. I mean, one of the turns where he played two creatures
Careful consideration, by the way.
He was holding Dismal Failure.
Wow. Did he have 6 mana or 7?
I thought he had 7, but I'd have to go back and look.
All right, careful consideration. Fetches up a Finkel. Minamura has no real fear of tapping out.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot Wafatapa can do to punish him. And there's that another Damnation.
There's Totem. Builds up his mana. An Urza's Factory for Minamura.
Can't quite power it, can he? Or can he? No, he can.
Oh, yeah. He played a Totem also that turn.
Right. Meanwhile, Guillaume just came up with land number 4. There's the first factory token. Meanwhile, Guillaume has Teferi. What just happened?
Looks like it was canceled.
Oh, Minamura played a Damnation to get rid of the Teferi. And now he goes in with Phyrexian Negator Totem.
Yeah, it's hard for me. Minamura's graveyard is in his removed from screen zone. It's always scary when the control player has this few lands because you know their hand just has to be absolutely smoking hot.
And here's another Teferi. Well, Wafatapa can't have been too upset to get the first one wrapped away.
A little scared to tap out like that main phase, but
what's he gonna do? He's got like one card in his hand. Only got 6 mana total. He's got to take some chances. Just doesn't have the luxury of trying to play around Brine Elementals.
Send in the totem. There's a morph.
So Wafatapa's got a mystical teachings, but he doesn't have a lot of mana.
Did he just get his Urborg strip mined by Minamura's Urborg?
He did.
Oh, that's big.
Yeah, Urborg stripping Urborg. All of a sudden, Guillaume Wafatapa's access to black mana is a storage land with no counters on it and a couple prismatic lenses.
Which also
Which is
shuts off
particularly rough because he's got sudden death in his hand. Which he can cast.
Sure.
But what he really wants to do is...
direct.
I'm sorry?
What he really wants to do is direct.
We've got one of those.
Don't worry, Bruce.
Yeah,
Just make him look pretty.
What Wafatapa wants to do is use that mystical teachings to go get a tendrils and point it at that negator totem. But now he's down overall mana and he doesn't have the black.
Yeah, that was just a huge.
Really smart. I mean, Minamura, good on multiple levels.
Sorry. No small.
But Minamura doesn't have any black mana either.
Well, he does have. It looks like he has a Dreadship Reef there that he can.
Yeah,
remove
but
a counter from.
he tapped his islands as if they were swamps.
I guess he's trying to decide now whether or not he wants to remove a counter and activate it. Or if he wants to store up those counters for a big morph turn when he draws into it.
Right.
Yep. Just took all the counters off.
Phyrexian Totem into the red zone for Kazuya Mitamura. Mitamura also has a face-down creature and a healthy selection of lands. Guillaume Wafatapa on the other side has a Teferi, which he's going to put in front of the Phyrexian Totem. Seems willing to trade Teferi for 3 permanents.
And then he's going to finish it off, I assume, with...
If he was going to finish it off with sudden death, why wouldn't he do that before combat damage?
Well, Mitamura has just removed 3 counters from his storage land, setting his mana development back. He's now going to lose 3 permanents, which will all be lands.
Okay.
And then he gets to destroy another land and a
but why does he lose Teferi? Why wouldn't he sudden death before combat damage?
Because he wants to... Oh, yeah.
He can sudden death before combat damage, and now it's a 1/1 negator token taking 3 damage.
I guess he doesn't... I don't...
He threw away Teferi basically for a random permanent.
Yeah. I kept thinking that... no, they keep Teferi that way, yeah.
Oh, Willbender.
That's
Ha ha ha! Your Waffle Top was really good. Completely missed that play.
There you go.
He would have lost it to Teferi for no gain. At least this way he gets Willbender off the board.
Did he just go get a disenchant?
I think so. He's really good. Totally saw all these scenarios coming. It's like, wow. Another face-down creature from Minamura. Seems like that happens every turn. I guess he decided to smart boarded in like 4 more, right?
Right.
The other 2 Brine Elementals and a couple of Willbenders. Yeah. And you really start to see the morph mechanic, right? You don't know what that is. Could be a Shapeshifter, could be a Willbender. And here's Raw Dog Triskelevis from Guillaume Wafatapa.
We should have a little play-at-home game where a little poll pops up and people can say what morph they think it is. Another morph coming. Yep. Just unmorphed Brine Elemental. Passes the turn.
Definitely was able to catch Wafatapa tapped out, but he doesn't have a Shapeshifter. What do you think of that play?
It's a time walk.
I mean, obviously, if he top decks a shapeshifter, it's awesome. His hand seems to have a will bender and a cancel.
It really feels like Minomore's deck could almost squeeze in a Mystical Teachings or two. If he has Teferi, he gets tutor for the morph pieces. He can still tutor for Careful Consideration, or I mean, he's got a couple of instant speed removal spells, and he's got the snapback. I don't know if it would. I don't know if I wouldn't try to play around with that, for the PTQ season.
Right.
maybe sort of blend the decks.
Yeah, there's clearly a bunch of ways you can go. You can
blend the
also
decks a little
go
further.
You can also go all in on the Pickles combo, which essentially means play the mono blue deck that Sergio Fujita built.
Right. Did Fujita have the Fathom Seer's main deck? I know he had them. I don't know if he had them main. I think they might have been in his sideboard.
I believe he had Willbender's main Fathom Seers in the board. I know he had Willbender's main, which is a lot of fun. So Minamura got the one time walk turn by flipping the Brine Elemental, but then he just shifts the turn back. How does Wafatapa play this? He kind of needs to stay on defense, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's what he did
12
earlier.
to 20?
Building up tokens. Building up counters on his lands. Careful Consideration for Minamura. Well, drew the pieces he needs. He's going to pitch 2 Shadow Mage Infiltrators.
Ships the turn? I guess he doesn't have enough mana to defend anything, so that makes sense.
Now, is there a Shapeshifter in his yard?
You thinking about extirpate?
I would certainly be considering it.
There's Mystical Teachings. Now, extirpate is split second, so Minamura needs to fight the Mystical Teachings. He's got to cancel this, right?
That's what he's thinking. I'm not sure if there's a Shapeshifter in the yard or not.
Think so. Minamura does indeed cancel the Mystical Teachings.
Yeah, if there's a Shapeshifter in the yard, does he have another Mystical? Do you have another Mystical Teachings in his hand? Oh, well, I think that's what Wafatapa's checking as well.
Yes, please.
Okay.
No Shapeshifters in the yard.
Okay.
Well, there's the face down creature.
It's probably the Willbender, I would assume.
I would think so as well. Guillaume's going to Mystical Teachings as a response. What is that?
It's a sudden death.
Okay. Mystical teachings for sudden death. Sudden death, the Brine Elemental.
Yep.
Down goes Brine Elemental before the face down creature can resolve. Face down creature resolves, and it's another Brine Elemental. Wow, that couldn't have worked out better for. Could not have worked out better for Mitamura.
Who has Shapeshifter in hand with Willbender back up.
And Guillaume Fatapa just did hook, line, and sinker. He played around that earlier Willbender artfully. Is he locked up now?
He is he's locked up.
Here comes the Shapeshifter. Flip it. Yeah.
I mean, obviously he can play some lands and, maybe fight his way out of it, but with a Willbender it's going to be a little difficult. More than a little difficult.
Wow.
Of course, he still has to find a way to deal some damage. Now, if he can find another Shapeshifter, he can stack up untaps.
Okay.
You skip your next untap under the wording of Brine Elemental.
Wow, Willbender and Draining Welk in Mitamura's hand. Seems like it's just a matter of time here. Pretty much got him locked.
If I was playing this at my local Friday Night Magic, I might, I would probably just scoop here. But, if there's some way to find a way out, Wafatapa, there's a $40,000 check at the end of that path.
He's making Triskelevites.
He is.
What does that do?
Well, if Shapeshifter's on the stack.
Oh, Shapeshifter on the stack.
Yep.
No.
So if he wants to flip it down now, it has 2 damage on it, and it's going to
Nice.
die as a state-based effect, I think.
Wow.
Which is
That's some pretty good technology. Mitamura can let it flip over. He's happy to bring it back up again and turn it back into a Brine Elemental. So 6/6 before, 6/6 after. But if it's got 2 points of damage on it, that brief second while it's face down, it would indeed die to state-based effects. So
5/4, by the way.
Sorry, 5/4.
You're confusing him with the much inferior Sea Serpent.
Whatever. Really smart play from Guillaume Wafatapa.
Yeah,
He just
that's
escaped
excellent.
the lock, didn't he?
He gets an untap.
He gets a one-turn reprieve, which is really all you need. All of a sudden, he gets to untap.
He still has to deal with that Shapeshifter.
Yeah, but he gets 27 extra mana to use.
Through a Willbender. But he doesn't know that yet.
Yeah.
Nope, he's not gonna Willbend. He's gonna sit back on his Draining Well for his counter magic.
Cancel and careful consideration of the cards in Guillaume's hand. He's got to go digging, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what's his other option?
How many hands? Hands. 1, 1.
Does Mitamura fight this? No.
And chooses not to.
Land, land, land. Draining Welk. That doesn't help. He's about to get locked back up again. Well,
Not completely.
he's
locked.
I mean, it's the stasis lock, right? It's tap your lands once and they're gone forever.
Right.
So Guillaume discards a couple of lands, plays in Urza's Factory, and is forced to shift the turn back with no answer to the combo. Mitamura does indeed let the Shapeshifter flip back down again.
I mean, also, he's attacking with 2 5/4s this turn.
It's true. Yeah, well, off the top, I have to block with Triskelius. Wafutapa has just made some amazing plays this game. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's going to lose this game, but there were 2 plays that, I don't know, I guess I'd like to think I would have seen him 8 years ago, but no way I would have seen them at any point in the last 5 or 6 years.
Off the top is considered. He has to block here.
Yep.
Expect to bite.
Yeah, may as well block them both.
So many tricky things since you can't respond to morph.
Yeah. Guillaume needs a card.
Might need 2.
Think twice. No. Yep. Guillaume scoops him up.
Going to game 4.
So game 3 goes to Kazuya Mitamura. Manages to put his pickles combo together. Wafutapa bought himself a turn, could not find the answer, and Guillaume Wafutapa now leads this match 2-1. Wow. Seems like Guillaume Wafutapa is really playing some great Magic right now. The play where, I mean, the Triskelivus play, pretty tight, pretty subtle, pretty hard to see. He can't wait, and if he waits and lets Mitamura flip the Shapeshifter down, well, Mitamura can always just respond to the damage by flipping it up again, so that wouldn't have worked. The trick is, he lets the Shapeshifter trigger, he puts 2 points of damage on it, and now if Mitamura lets it flip over, it dies immediately to state-based effects. Mitamura has to leave it face up. It stays a 5/4, it survives the damage, but there goes the opportunity to trigger the Brine Elemental. So with that 1-turn window, Wafutapa could, in theory, have gotten out of it. That's an opportunity a lot of players just would not have been able to give themselves. Didn't work out, but still a great play. Thought it was kind of interesting how you had the 2 different sides of the morph battle there as well. Wafutapa at one point successfully put Mitamura on Willbender, and instead of getting a sudden death, Willbended back at his own Teferi, lets Teferi die, forces Mitamura to sacrifice 3 permanents, and then forces Mitamura to lose his Willbender as well. So winds up 4 permanents from having said, maybe that morph is a Willbender. I better not make the greedy play here. The one time the morph game did not work out, though, the way that Mitamura was able to stitch his lock together, with Brine Elemental in play, Mitamura went to play another morph. Now, Guillaume's obviously afraid that it's a Shapeshifter and decides to make the play of sudden deathing the Brine Elemental that's in play. Turns out, Mitamura was in the process of playing a backup Brine Elemental, is able to flip that, and there you go. All locked up.
Unlike Jonathan Rispal, who always speaks. Who are you two hitting with?
Probably Pierre Cameli or Bastien Perez.
Bastien.
Those are some pretty scary San Diego teams.
I remember Pierre was teaming with you or with Jonathan or Bastien.
Yeah.
Potentially pretty scary teams for San Diego. It's the subject of a lot of conversation around here. A lot of the pros are still choosing up sides. Who's going to play with whom in San Diego, and who are you playing with? And if only I can finish in the top 50, then I can get the points I need to get the level I need to be able to play with my friend. Which is kind of fun. You see a lot of people that they really want to team up with friends, and so they're hoping to get enough pro levels that they can, in fact, play with their buddies rather than necessarily having to, you know, oh, I got to go find a level 2 guy because we got to get 5 levels to qualify. San Diego should be a fun one. I mean, Two-Headed Giant, just a fun format in terms of the angles and the storylines and who's playing with whom and how does that work. A bunch of people showed up for both of the Grand Prix, so certainly nice to see that format embraced at a grassroots level. There's Guillaume Wafatapa. Just needs to win one of the next 2.
Okay. Go ahead.
Guillaume leads with an island. Mitamura plays an island.
Where are the terramorphic expanses?
Mitamura actually sideboarded a couple out.
Really?
Yeah, I was surprised by that.
Just decided he wanted less land?
You don't... Mitamura goes for Shadow Mage Infiltrator, and Wafatapa has to cancel. Yep, Mitamura decided to play another Shadow Mage Infiltrator. Guillaume pretty much refuses to let himself get hit by that. I mean, he sees himself in a card advantage war. You know, if he falls behind on cards, he's going to have no chance of being able to trade removal spells for each of Mitamura's creatures. So,
Has he gotten hit yet by it once? I
No.
don't think so.
no, he's killed every one of them on site. Or, I mean, he canceled one last turn.
Yep.
So Wafatapa charges up. Storage lands. Now what? There's Damnation.
Same as it ever was.
Let's see, Willbender to Fairy.
Wouldn't get the Willbender out there, right?
Grip full of blue cards. Draining Well, cancel.
Both players are scuffling on the mana a little bit here.
It's true. Mitamura just ships the turn.
It's an Urborg for...
Now, why would Mitamura not play Willbender there?
Is he sitting on cancel?
For what, though?
Maybe without mana, he just wants us to have the mana, the ability to pump up his storage lands.
Aeon Chronicler for Guillaume.
Was that suspended for 3?
Suspends it for 3. That seems like a pretty good play. I mean, it feels like Mitamura took the pressure off, right? If he plays a face-down creature, I mean, you're right, he did want to charge up his storage lands. But if he plays a face-down creature, we've seen Guillaume feels obliged to react to every one of them. That's his game plan.
Yep.
I mean, Mitamura gave him a window where Guillaume could suspend an Aeon Chronicler for 3. That's going to make it much easier for Wafatapa to play the reactive role that he wants.
Right. Every face-down creature is public enemy number 1 to Wafatapa.
Seems that way. He's got a very coherent plan. He's sticking to it. Okay, now here's face-down creature. He'll obviously resolve, but now Guillaume gets to untap, draw 2 cards. Last turn, which just would have had 3 fewer cards to react with and no Chronicler suspended for the next couple turns. So Guillaume's answers include a Damnation and a Tendrils. Looks like he's got a Teachings as well. Goes ahead and points Tendrils, and does indeed get a Willbender for his troubles.
No other targets to bend.
Right. Wafutapa gains 7. Another careful consideration for Mitamura. Decides to go for face down creature again.
Think you'd be tempted to sculpt your hand there with the careful consideration?
Yeah. Seems like he needs to pick a plan. There's Damnation. And that's a Shapeshifter for his trouble. Now, how tempting is Mystical Teachings for Extirpate at this point? Got enough counters on the storage land that Minamura doesn't make him react to something. He can run that plan. Minamura's got 5 land.
He's got enough counters on his storage
And
lands, though, to
shifts
make
the
a draining
turn.
Welk.
Yeah, it's true. Draining Welk is the one reason why Guillaume might not do anything here. And Guillaume does indeed decline. Doesn't want to walk into a Welk. Oh, there's Teferi trying to counter the Chronicler.
There's
But draining Welk from Guillaume Wafutapa. That's pretty big.
well, 2 pretty big guys.
That's a 6/6 flyer and a Morrow.
So we get the-
And an extra card for his trouble. The blue Morrow heads in for 4 damage. Is that cancel mana left for Guillaume? This
depending
game could be over in a hurry. This is how he took game 4 from Herberholtz. Just got off a quick giant draining Welk, was able to defend it. There's careful consideration.
Guillaume's like, sure.
Yeah, Minamura's digging for answers. Not clear he's got enough mana left to deal with that Welk. And all of a sudden, it's Minamura on his back foot trying to play the control. His deck isn't set up that way, especially after sideboarding. He took pretty much all of his creature removal out. The Damnations are in the sideboard. I don't know how many ways Minamura has that he can even potentially kill a Draining Welk.
I mean, his creature control plan at this point is
Brine Elemental.
Brine Elemental, Vesuvian Shapeshifter.
He does not have a whole lot of time. Smash. That's 11. I mean, Minamura's dead next turn.
Yep.
Guillaume Wafutapa leads this match 2-1. He is 1 attack phase away from becoming the Pro Tour Yokohama champion. $40,000, 25 pro points, a ticket straight near the top of the Player of the Year race.
Certainly in the top 5 or 6 players. You know, Kenji Mike Brown might be the leader at this point.
Might be Guillaume.
Might be Guillaume. I tried. I don't know how many points Mike Guillaume had coming into this event.
Does Minamura have an answer to a giant flying Draining Welk? It is not a very confident looking face.
And not only does he have an answer, does he have an answer and a way to defend it.
Right. Guillaume Wafutapa has just played some outstanding magic all weekend long. Great deck builder, great deck pilot. Seems like a very worthy Pro Tour champion.
Seems like a very likely Pro Tour champion.
Now,
There's a morph.
does Wafutapa need to fight that? Not really.
Well, he can't.
It could be Brine Elemental. Is there enough mana?
There are 1, 2, 3, 4,
How many
5,
counters on the
6.
storage land?
2 counters, it looks like. So that's not enough.
2 counters? Not enough. Minamura already played a land. Pretty sure.
Have you dropped the line this turn?
After.
Yep. Guillaume did the same map we did. Right? It's no way for him to do a Rhino Elemental off that mana. I think you say okay.
Little does he know about the Simian Spirit Guides. Guillaume thinks carefully. This is a $40,000 decision. He doesn't look like he wants to counter it, but
There's the cancel. No, but that opens up Draining Welk. But he's got Mystical Teachings. And has he got Cancel Mana left? Yes, he does. There's the hand. Guillaume Wafo-Tapa is your Pro Tour Yokohama champion. Hats off to him. Built a great deck. Brought the Mystical Teachings package full of one-offs. Piloted it flawlessly from what I could see. Just played some spectacular Magic. Wow.
Even the game he lost, he gave
Yeah, he
himself
made
every
multiple
chance.
plays that very few people in the building, much less in the world, I think would have seen. There's going to be an award ceremony shortly. Scott Larrabee is going to set up to hand out some trophies and hand out some checks. Hello again. Nice to see you.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for staying up with us.
Absolutely. Brian and I have had a lot of fun with this top 8. It's been a great top 8.
Oh, this was spectacular. It was a lot of fun to watch. Had a great time watching Oiso. Had a great time watching Mark Herberholz. Great time watching Guillaume Wafo-Tapa, a player coming into his own right.
Clearly.
Ascending from being just a great deck designer that a handful of people talked about and played his decks, and ascending to the title of Pro Tour champion, throwing himself into the mix for the Player of the Year race.
Absolutely.
Sending shockwaves throughout the PTQ constructed block season.
Definitely.
That
was fun.
Just wonderful.
So is this the deck you think we'll see the PTQs?
I think you're certainly going to see that deck in the PTQs. PTQ players tend to favor
aggro.
The more aggro decks. Certainly, people
There's
are
a
like,
couple good ones in this format.
Boros is dead. Then you see a bunch of Boros decks.
Right.
I think you'll certainly see White Weenie. It's a deck.
How much of Future Sight have you had the chance to see so far?
I haven't. I've only seen the slivers. Honestly,
I saw you with the Player's Guide. You took one of those Player's Guides that we make out of the fat packs and disappeared with it to do some research.
I did do a little reading. I mean, there's a number of cards. It's hard for me to. I haven't seen anything that really. I saw the lands.
Okay.
And the lands are the one thing that are going to really, I think, have
they're
an impact.
Impactful, but
they're going to have an
not
impact
at the archetype level.
That's hard to understand because it might make other art. The ability to have that mana fixing might let you play other archetypes that just don't exist at the moment because the mana is so difficult. You only have green is the only color that really has a lot of mana fixing, and suddenly it's available to the other colors. Blue white, certainly. This deck certainly gets a boost from the blue white cards, and
sure.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good stuff in Future Sight. It seems like all these guys, when they weren't playing, they were over on the other side of the building playing in the local Tokyo pre-release.
Masashi Oiso was drafting all night Future Sight in preparation for his top 8 date with Mark Herberholz.
Makes sense. We'll have to do some Future Sight drafting ourselves.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to doing some more tonight. I think I have to go off the Sliver plan. I think I'm going to have to draft something else.
Yeah, but you have to say that now, at least.
I mean,
you can't let the guy on your right just know.
People had my slivers. They had, someone had a Screeching Sliver. Someone had something else I wanted. It's going to get tougher and tougher. So.
Makes sense. So, just setting up for an award ceremony. Brian and I have certainly enjoyed bringing you this Pro Tour. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I mean, it's funny. Coming into this top 8, we were, we were a little nervous. We're like, wow, look at all these blue-black decks. We're going to be here all day. But it's funny, the player who played the sort of most deliberately was a player playing the mono-red deck. It was Raphael Levy. The blue-black players played crisply.
Yeah.
They obviously took their time to make decisions at key moments, but they really didn't waste a lot of time. There was an economy of action, and that comes from 16 rounds of Swiss and having to get through the rounds in time. So
great players, great
players.
format. Let's hand out some trophies.
All right.
I'll send it down to Scott Larrabee for the award ceremony. See you next time.
Welcome to the 2007 Pro Tour Yokohama Awards Ceremony. Assisting me today will be head judge Sheldon Menery. Before we begin, a few awards that have already been handed out. In fourth place, from Japan, winning $14,000, Tomohiro Saito. And in third place, from the United States, winning $15,000, Mark Herberholz. And now, the 2007 Pro Tour Yokohama finalist, from Japan, winning $22,000, Kazuya Mitamura. Another big hand for Kazuya Mitamura. And now, the 2007 Pro Tour Yokohama champion, from France, Guillaume Wafotapa. Your 2007 Pro Tour Yokohama champion, winning $40,000, Guillaume Wafotapa. I'd like to thank all the players, judges, and staff that made Pro Tour Yokohama such a great success. We'll see you next in June 2007 for Pro Tour San Diego. Thank you, and good night.